Be consistent no matter how you feel. Being consistent no matter how you feel is one of the hardest disciplines a human being can develop. Yet it is also the discipline that separates those who dream from those who achieve, those who talk from those who become, those who wait for life to change from those who shape life with their own hands. Everyone desires success, but the truth is that success is rarely built on moments of excitement or waves of motivation. It is built on days when you don't feel like showing up, when your emotions are scattered, when your energy is low, and when your mind whispers every possible excuse. Consistency is forged in the moments when most people would quit. It is carved in the hours when you choose discipline over comfort, commitment over mood, and purpose over impulse. That is what makes consistency powerful. It does not depend on how you feel. It depends on who you decide to be. Your feelings are fleeting, unstable, unpredictable. They change with weather, with sleep, with circumstances, with stress, with the words of others, sometimes even with nothing at all. If your life is governed by feelings, then your progress will always be inconsistent, and your potential will remain locked behind the gates of emotional turbulence. But when you choose to act regardless of how you feel, you create a structure within yourself that no mood can sabotage. You develop an internal discipline that becomes stronger than doubt, stronger than laziness, stronger than fear. You begin to understand that greatness does not belong to those who feel great every day. It belongs to those who act great even on the hard days. There will be mornings when you wake up tired, when your mind is foggy, when everything in you wants to delay, postpone, or cancel your commitments. These are the defining moments. These are the moments that determine who you become. Anyone can show up when motivation is high and energy flows naturally. But it is on the days when you feel heavy, discouraged, or uninspired that consistency becomes a weapon. When you push through those moments, you teach yourself a powerful truth, that you are not a slave to your emotions. You are a creator of your actions. You are a builder of your future, and that future is being shaped not by how you feel, but by how you respond to how you feel. Consistency is not glamorous. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's not something people applaud you for daily. Most of the time, it feels quiet, ordinary, even boring. It feels like repeating the same behaviors again and again, wondering if anyone notices, wondering if it's making a difference. But consistency is like compounding interest. Small actions repeated over time produce results so powerful they feel almost magical. Every time you show up, every time you practice, every time you take the next step, even when your feelings resist, you are putting another brick in the foundation of your future. And one day, the structure you've built will stand tall enough for the world to see, and people will think it happened overnight. But you will know that it was built in the days when you felt like giving up and didn't. There are people who spend years waiting to feel ready. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect time, the perfect mindset. They keep telling themselves, I'll start when I feel better, when I feel motivated, when life settles, when things align. But life never aligns perfectly. The conditions are never ideal, and readiness is not something you wait for. It is something you create by acting before you feel ready. The people who move forward are the ones who begin despite doubt, persevere despite fatigue, and continue despite emotional resistance. They understand something fundamental. Your feelings will never consistently support your goals. That is why your discipline must. When you decide to be consistent no matter how you feel, you begin to take control of your identity. You stop treating yourself as someone fragile or easily swayed. You begin to see yourself as someone capable, powerful, reliable. Confidence grows not from the days when everything goes well, but from the days when you do what must be done even when you don't want to. Every act of discipline increases your trust in yourself. You start to believe that you can depend on your own actions. You start to know, deep down, that you will show up even when it's hard. That self-trust is one of the most valuable assets you will ever build. You must understand that feelings are visitors. They come and go. They fluctuate with no regard for your dreams. Some days you'll feel inspired, some days you won't. Some days you'll feel strong, other days you'll feel broken. But your purpose cannot depend on emotional weather. Your consistency must remain even when the storms of life shake you. Even when your mind tries to convince you to stop, your commitment must hold firm. That is how you rise above the average. That is how you build a life few people ever reach, not by emotion, not by mood, but by relentless consistency. Your future self is being shaped right now, in this moment, by the habits you choose to practice. If you choose discipline, you shape a future filled with strength, confidence, and achievement. If you choose inconsistency, you shape a future filled with regret, self-doubt, and missed opportunities. Every day you make a choice, whether consciously or unconsciously. Every day you cast a vote for the type of person you are becoming. Those votes accumulate. Over time, they define you. There will be times when you feel lost, when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel like you are taking one step forward and two steps back. These moments do not mean you are failing. They mean you are growing. Growth is uncomfortable. Progress is often invisible in the moment, but consistency turns invisible progress into undeniable transformation. When you keep going, especially during the painful moments, you are expanding your capacity. You are becoming someone who does not break easily, someone who can endure challenges, someone who is not intimidated by adversity. You must remember, emotions are temporary, but the consequences of giving in to them can be permanent. The workout you skip, the project you avoid, the practice you delay, the promise you break, these moments seem small, but they accumulate. They shape your character. They teach your mind that you cannot be trusted to follow through. And once you stop trusting yourself, everything becomes harder. But when you follow through regardless of how you feel, you send the opposite message. You tell your mind, when I say I will do something, I mean it. That message builds inner strength like nothing else. Being consistent no matter how you feel does not mean being emotionless. It does not mean ignoring hardship or pretending everything is fine. It means acknowledging your feelings while refusing to let them dictate your actions. It means showing up tired, showing up stressed, showing up discouraged, showing up uncertain, but showing up anyway. That anyway is the birthplace of greatness. I will continue the speech in the next message since it must be long, uninterrupted, and built to reach the full length. Consistency becomes a kind of quiet promise you make to yourself, a promise that says, I will not abandon my goals just because my emotions fluctuate. Each time you honor that promise, you strengthen the mental muscles required to carry long-term commitments. Most people overestimate the importance of occasional bursts of effort and underestimate the power of sustained, steady dedication. But if you study anyone who has achieved greatness, athletes, leaders, creators, innovators, you'll find one universal truth. They built their success on days when they felt ordinary. They practiced through boredom. They trained through doubt. They worked even when inspiration was nowhere in sight. What separates them from the rest is not supernatural talent. It is unwavering consistency. When you rely only on motivation, your progress becomes unpredictable. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days you feel unmovable. But when you rely on consistency, you become unstoppable even on the days you feel unmovable. Consistency is the force that carries you through emotional storms, through anxiety, through fear, through fatigue. When you cultivate it deeply, it becomes part of your identity. You stop asking, "Do I feel like it today?" and instead ask, "What needs to be done today?" That shift, from feelings to action, changes everything. There will be countless moments on your journey when quitting will feel easier than continuing. You'll feel discouraged when progress is slow. You'll question yourself when setbacks hit. You'll doubt whether all the effort is worth it. But these moments are not signs to stop. They are signs to persist. Emotional discomfort often appears right before breakthroughs. When your mind is uncomfortable, it tries to protect you by convincing you to stop. But growth requires stepping into discomfort. It requires leaning into resistance. The version of you that exists after pushing through that discomfort is stronger, clearer, more capable. Think of consistency like a rope you're pulling. Every little pull moves you forward, even if you barely notice. Some days you tug with all your strength. Other days you can only manage a slight pull. But each pull matters. Each pull keeps the rope from slipping backward. What destroys people is not the days when the pull is weak. It's the days when they drop the rope entirely. When you remain consistent even at 10% capacity, you continue moving. When you give nothing because you don't feel good, you lose momentum. That is why giving even a small amount on hard days is more important than giving a massive amount on good days. Consistency creates identity. Every action reinforces a belief about who you are. When you consistently show up, you begin to think of yourself as someone disciplined, committed, and strong. When you consistently avoid responsibility, you begin to think of yourself as someone incapable, unmotivated, or weak. Your actions write the story you tell yourself about yourself, and the story you believe becomes the story you live. So, if you want to believe in your power, you must act in ways that generate power. It's easy to be consistent when life is convenient, but the real test, the test that shapes you, is how you behave when life is inconvenient, when stress piles up, when things go wrong, when people disappoint you, when results are slow. Consistency during these moments is what sets you apart. Most people collapse under emotional pressure. They allow their discomfort to outweigh their commitments. But the great ones, the ones who become exceptional, treat discomfort as a signal to push deeper, not a sign to retreat. Every time you fight through resistance, you expand your resilience. You teach your mind that discomfort is not dangerous. You build emotional endurance. Emotional endurance is the ability to act with clarity, even when your mind is crowded with doubt, fatigue, or fear. Without emotional endurance, you will crumble under pressure. With it, you become unstoppable. Emotional endurance is built one consistent action at a time. You must understand that your future is not shaped by what you occasionally do. It is shaped by what you repeatedly do. Your habits become your destiny. Consistency carves those habits into your character. When you show up every day, even in small ways, you build the architecture of success. You construct routines that support your goals. You develop discipline that grows stronger with use. You create patterns that make progress inevitable. Imagine two people given the same dream. One waits for inspiration. The other builds consistency. The first moves in bursts, up and down, forward and backward, progress and collapse. The second moves slowly but steadily, with momentum compounding each day. A year later, their lives do not look remotely similar. One is frustrated, stuck, drowning in the same excuses. The other has transformed, not because they felt better, but because they acted better. Consistency is the great equalizer. It beats talent. It beats luck. It beats intelligence. It beats passion. Talent can fade. Luck can shift. Intelligence can stagnate. Passion can fluctuate. But consistency endures. It compounds. It makes the impossible attainable. It turns ordinary individuals into powerhouses of progress. There will be days when you feel alone in your efforts. Days when no one sees the sacrifices you're making. Days when you wonder if anything is changing. These moments are sacred. They are the crucibles where champions are formed. The world applauds the results, but ignores the lonely hours of work that made those results possible. You must never confuse silence with stagnation. Progress is often silent. Transformation is often unseen. The seeds you plant today will grow roots before they ever grow leaves. And just because you can't see the roots doesn't mean they're not expanding beneath the surface. Consistency requires patience. It demands faith, faith in the process, faith in your ability to grow, faith that the small steps matter. Many people quit not because the goal was impossible, but because they couldn't tolerate the quiet phase of growth. They couldn't endure the stretch between effort and visible reward. But consistency bridges that gap. It keeps you moving even when evidence is minimal. And eventually, the results become undeniable. Your feelings will tell you to stop long before your body needs to stop. Your mind will generate excuses before your circumstances justify them. You must learn to question your feelings, not obey them blindly. Feelings are data, not directions. They tell you how you're experiencing the moment, not what you're capable of in the moment. When you act based on commitment instead of emotion, you break the chains that keep most people stuck in cycles of starting and quitting. Consistency teaches you humility. It reminds you that greatness is built one brick at a time. It teaches you patience. It shows you the value of delayed gratification. It reveals that progress is earned, not given. It anchors you in purpose. It grounds you during emotional storms. It transforms your relationship with effort, from something to avoid to something you embrace. Over time, consistency becomes part of who you are, not something you force yourself to do.